before you can ask them, you're already too late.
Yep, I know. It's the pain of my existence.
I know you're from the eastern part of the country. So if I would ask you what your weirdest hobby is, would it involve lots of alcohol?
No.
Okay.
Second thing.
Where you have more.
Yeah.
Love it. Is there a weird fact about you? Or is that not something you would like to share?
Yeah, no. What is the root cause of an incoming request to fail? And that's where tracing can help.
Today, I think we have a really cool topic to discuss and to talk about. I'm super keen to have you on here as like the expert about this topic.
Yeah.
Because it's distributed tracing today.
Distributed tracing, indeed.
Yeah. So how did all of this started? Like distributed tracing, where did what was the urge to be able to start this?
So it started a few years ago already. But I think before explaining it, maybe it's good to tell the listeners of the podcast, which might also be non-ball people, right? Yeah.
For sure.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think it's good to know how we have organized ourselves in our development teams. So we have the concept of domains, right? And a domain, for example, the shopping domain has product groups in, and a product group contains like 5 or 6 development teams, and all these people, all these teams, they create software. We have a monolith. No, not a monolith. We have a microservices architecture, and it means that on production, when a customer opens our Ball app, that a lot of data flows through the landscape. All services talk with each other, and stuff can break.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to be able to quickly find out where it hurts. So what is the root cause of an incoming request to fail? And that's where tracing can help.
Mm-hmm. And to give like just a guess of scale, like how much microservice are we talking about?
Good one. I need to look at my screen here. We have, on average, we do like 7,000 incoming requests per second.
Whoa.
And nowadays, we have the number of services, I don't recall out of my head, but do you know that, Anthony?
No, I don't. But it was a lot.
Yeah, I think maybe 2,000 unique services.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really shows the issue in that case.
Yeah, and they all divided over all these teams.
Yeah.
And as a team, you do your own thing, and you are only just a small part of your service is only just a small part of what is needed to respond to the customer request.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's why we need tracing.
Mm-hmm. Because otherwise it's not possible to, or why is it so hard without tracing?
Now, what you see then is that normally an issue when something bad is happening, then the teams which are close to the customer, they notice first because they see something bad is going on in their Grafana dashboards, and then they go to the. Now maybe we can even do it more in Jip Janneke language. So, if a customer opens a product page, and then for example of a laptop, then you need a price, you need content of that laptop, title, description, the sizes, etc. You need maybe even relevant other products, and all that data, all these pieces of data, come from different teams, and sometimes these services are connected through multiple hubs. So the service which is directly connected to the mobile app is connected to a service that gives us the content, the laptop's title. But that service is also connected to some other content services. And even that one, it goes like in multiple hubs. And from a customer perspective, so closest to the customer, you always see that something is happening one hop away, but you don't see what is the root cause there.
Mm-hmm.
So what typically happens when something is going wrong is that you go to that team, and that team is looking at their dashboards, find out, hey, it's our backend which is causing the root cause, and then that backend team is going to their backends, and before you know, you have you have a Kashmir feeling.
Yeah, and it will take a lot of crucial minutes, of course.
Yeah.
And so how is this distributed tracing helping with that problem?
Well, if you have distributed tracing in place, then where the customer request hits your landscape, you create something unique, a code, and you propagate that code through the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the microservices are then reporting what happens in their context to a centralized place, and they propagate that unique code as well to their backend. So each hop is reporting what is being requested to their service, how it went, if everything went okay, or by propagating that unique thing, you give yourself the ability to visualize how that request went through the landscape, and it immediately shows what happens and where something bad might have been happened.
Yeah,
sounds cool. Yeah,
it sounds like the perfect tool for these huge companies, indeed.
Yeah,
because indeed, like especially the crucial minutes within an emergency or something, it just takes a lot of time, and especially if someone is a bit slower on Slack or someone is just grabbing a coffee, and you have no idea, or you have to wait, or maybe you're even guarded away from the logs of the upstream that has the issue. Yeah, your journey stops because you have no idea where you can find it. So this sounds like a perfect solution.
Yeah, and especially in combination with metrics and with logs, you see that it's a perfect. It's not. I always say it's in the perfect world. A trace shows you where something is bad, and then from that trace you click through to the specific service which is causing the root cause, and then you click through the logs, the metrics of that specific service, or even the profiler.
Yeah.
So in terms of observability, if you connect it all, if you offer an integraal, what's the English phrase?
Integrated.
Yeah, if you offer an integrated solution, then there's tracing, there's metrics, there's logging, and there's profiling, all in one tool. Basically.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sounds like the holy grail, right?
Yeah.
Makes it way easier indeed, instead of having to open 5 tabs every minute of the day and having to check what's my Grafana doing, what are my logs doing, what is this doing.
Yeah. And again, if something is happening on production, then and you are, I happen to know that you're in the front end, in the team that's close to the customer.
Yep.
But if something happens in one of the back-end teams, then before you arrive and before you can ask them, you're already too late.
Yep, I know.
Yeah, and
that's the pain of my existence.
Yeah, and that happens a lot, right? So
it does. Yeah.
Especially in a microservice architecture like we have.
Yeah, and just aside from emergencies, I mean, this is already perfect. But even from debugging, like if you're building something new, for example, or rewriting some sort of website, what we're doing, then it's super nice that you can already see, hey, like in the debug or in the trace right now, I do see that if something is really slow, but finding that something is hard.
Yeah.
But if you have this observability in place, it makes it really cool.
Yeah, and the best part is you can also apply anomaly detection here. So in our case, we use Google Cloud, right? So and we use CloudTrace as our backend solution, and you can use that to so Google can tell us, hey, there's something weird going on. Your latency is somewhere in the back is decreasing. You might check that out, and so that's even more powerful.
Yeah, wow. So So you can even have alerts based on the traces.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
Over time. So if, like in a period of 6 weeks, the product page gets slower, then Google can tell you, okay, we have identified anomaly. Check it out because it might be wrong.
Yeah.
And this is where you should start.
Yeah, that's so. Is there any other tool you will need if you got this in place with the proper setup you just described?
Yeah, I think this is the power of the combination of having a combination of logs, tracing, and metrics.
Awesome. Yeah, maybe this is a nice bridge because for the people listening in, what is indeed you already mentioned Google, but what's the rest of the stack that we're building upon?
Our stack. So all in Google. We run Kubernetes. We run our compute in Kubernetes. We use Istio as our service mesh. And we try to be as cloud native as possible, basically. So if we need storage, then we prefer cloud storage from Google.
Yeah.
If we have the need for a database, then we prefer Cloud SQL. If we need more, then BigQuery. Yeah. So we try to pick the native Google Cloud components.
Yeah, nice. That makes sense. So indeed, everything now is structured in the cloud, which makes this possible.
Yeah.
Because has there been an issue in the past why this couldn't be done earlier before?
Well, in fact, you say it's possible, but so we run our own metrics platform.
Ah, okay.
So we are not yet making use of the metrics and the logging facilities from Google itself.
All right. Because indeed, as part of distributed tracing, that could also be part of the package.
Yeah. And I think that's a very nice second step. So I think our platform teams have already made it possible to use cloud logs nowadays. But they also still transport logs to homegrown Kibana instance.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, we need to stop using that and we need to go all in.
Yeah, it makes sense because maybe it's really in depth, but I'm just curious about it. Because if you now send it to two systems, so we send a trace to Google Cloud so that we can have the observability in place, how does it connect to the logging? Is there also a trace in the logging?
No, it doesn't.
So we do see, okay, this error happened when we tried to get the price, for example, but we can't see what the actual error was or the exception error.
No, there is something possible by applying additional information to the traces we sent to Google Cloud Trace. But if we all choose the Google logs and metrics solutions as well, then this will be easier.
Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And less product switching, right? As a developer, for my metrics, I need to go to Grafana. For the logs, I need to go to Kibana. For the traces, I need to go to CloudTrace. And for the profile, I don't even know. But having it all in one tool is also better for context switching and developer happiness, I guess.
Yeah, and an enabler for a lot of other cool things, I would say.
Yeah. And talking about that, so we were now focusing on tracing HTTP requests, but you can also trace SQL statements.
Oh, wow.
So back to your example of that product page where you visualize the HTTP services requesting each other. If one of them needs data coming from a database, then you can also visualize that call to the database.
Yeah.
Including the statement, the SQL statement, including all the different timings to go to the database, etc., etc.
Wow.
Yeah, so
it's a lot of data.
It's perfect for finding bottlenecks.
It is, and maybe just a stupid question, but it sparked my curiosity. Is this super expensive, or is this just a good alternative like what we had if you host it yourself?
Now, we don't know really yet.
Okay, we'll see in a couple of years.
No. But it is expensive, I think, if you if you see traces as an additional way of performing observability, right?
Yeah.
But my gut feeling is that if you do tracing in a good way, that the need for having a shitload of logs and a shitload of metrics will go down.
Actually go down.
Yeah. Because, like I said before, when a trace tells you that something is wrong on production, then you immediately find yourself debugging that service, which is problematic.
Yeah.
So it really 1 and 1 equals 3 here. So you need the whole package in order to make it really useful.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, tracing, you don't need 100% of the incoming requests to trace. You can set the sample size, so you can say, okay, I only want 5% of all the incoming requests to be traced.
Yeah.
And as long as you get information of all the services related to these requests, then you're good to go.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good tip. Do you have more tips for other people who are interested in starting up distributed tracing?
I have, and I wrote them down, so I don't know them by heart. But I have like 5 tips. And the first one, it sounds obvious, but at our company, we are a quite big company. I found this hard, to be honest. So in order to have tracing in place, you need work to be done in your service layer.
Mm-hmm.
You need work to be done in the Kubernetes layer. Istio needs to understand traces. You need to apply some configuration changes there. You need to pick a backend where all the traces, all the spans, which are called the subparts of a trace, are called spans. They all need to go somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and you need a way, a mechanism to propagate the tracing headers. So you need to either do it yourself as a development team, or if you use a framework for that. We have a framework, right? We have Team Excel who did this for us. So you as a developer, you only need to use the latest Excel, and then immediately your service is able to propagate these traces. But if you don't have that, then you need to change all your services.
Oh, sounds like a lot of work.
Oh,
Yeah.
especially at scale.
Oh yeah.
And you need to make sure that all the teams do this in the same way, because of course, also for tracing, there are like multiple standards.
Mm.
And we chose the OpenTelemetry one, which looks like it will be the winner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
And is this something Google native, or for example, if we were to have our stack as well on AWS, does that talk to each other, or is it just a header, for example, that we're adding, or how does this work?
Yeah, in the end, it's only headers.
Okay.
Yeah, but how the headers are named and how you correlate your trace with your parent trace,
Mhm.
that's all standardized.
Okay, yeah.
And you need to speak the same language.
The standard is from OpenTelemetry.
Yeah.
Cool.
So my tip would be, if you as a big company are about to implement tracing, get someone from your infra team, get someone from your Kubernetes team,
Mhm.
security, FinOps, or how do you call the budget guys nowadays?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be involved, because you need them as well. It's not only the service layer. It's not only Istio. It's way more than that.
Yeah, and why is that?
Yeah, because you need to make changes in all of these layers.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
And consistent changes, right? It needs to be able to talk to each other and understand each other.
Second tip.
Second tip.
You have more.
yeah.
Love it.
Start small.
Ah,
Ah,
So just focus on one page or one whatever company you are. So in our case, we chose to pick one customer-facing page and enable tracing for all of the subparts that are needed to render that page.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you have that working, then expand.
Yeah. Because is it in our scale something like configuration we can just turn on, turn off for a service? Because I would say if you were to add it to the infra layer, as example, Istio, it's not that it's fully on for the landscape and fully off.
Yeah, it depends a bit of how you implement it.
Okay, cool. So that's a detail.
Yeah, so what we did is we enabled the propagation of the tracing headers by default.
Ah, cool.
So if you are using Excel 12, I think, then by default, if an incoming request to your service contains tracing headers, your service sends them through to your upstream services.
Yeah, that's smart.
And if the incoming request doesn't contain these headers, then your service does nothing. Now, if you want to start a trace, then you can say, okay, for X% of my incoming requests, my service adds the traces. And you do that in your Istio layer.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's nice. So you could, for example, also say, again, sidestep, but I only want to have the traces that are not the happy flows.
Yeah, but how do you know?
You don't know it up front.
No,
that makes sense. Yeah, maybe only the storage part to save some sort of. I want to keep these traces because these scenarios are interesting to look into after, and the other ones, time to live really, really short.
Yeah.
But interesting though. That's really cool, and I think that's really smart how you guys did it.
Yeah. So you, as a development team, you can say, okay, we don't have time for traces, but we want to support it. No, then just upgrade to Excel 12.
Yeah.
And if you say, hey, we might benefit as well because we have a lot of upstream dependencies as well, and we know that our dependencies have dependencies, then you can say, okay, let's start to use tracing for 1% or for 2% or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. And so what are the next steps? Because you mentioned on this tip, you rolled it out for a small page. Where are we at now?
We enabled it by default, like I said. So all the services running on Excel 12, which are, I think, all of them.
I'm not sure what version we are, but I guess, I hope, a lot of people adopted.
Yeah, time will heal this. So in the end, all of the services will propagate incoming tracing headers. And I know for a fact that the simple shop stack, so our new future web shop stack, that they are making use of tracing by default.
Okay.
So it's a matter of time before everyone will have tracing.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a nice gift though, if you just upgrade and out of the box you get these cool new features.
Yeah.
Saves a lot of time.
Yeah, and that's the power of the framework.
It is for sure.
Yeah, kudos to Team Excel for that.
Yeah.
Could be a separate podcast, right? The framework. And the
What is
framework
Excel?
team.
Yeah. You definitely need to invite Excel
For sure.
and Torque, of course. We
And
also
Torque.
have Go users.
Yeah, I'm always like, sometimes you speak to friends or people from different companies, and I'm always explaining them like what Excel actually is doing and how easy and how beneficial it is at the end. But like really, these kind of concepts really show the power of such a framework. Yeah, cool.
I would even say that for a company who wants traces, who don't make use of a framework, maybe don't even go there.
No.
Tip 6.
Give yourself a mechanism to make changes to all your services at once. Otherwise, you get a lot of frustration and people make typos in the header propagation and they pick the wrong SDK. They are making use of incompatible HTTP clients. So many things can go wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And we all have seen them, and Excel fixed them all.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Yeah, awesome. Is there even a third tip?
Yeah.
Oh.
Provide a demo repository that contains a service, a very simple one, ping pong or whatever, hello world, with one backend so that people can see how it works and document everything. Because although it find people people always give me the feeling that they understand the concept of distributed tracing, but a lot of the times then I just don't they just don't understand it.
Yeah,
Although they say I do, they don't understand it.
yeah, I see.
So is there a quiz at the end of the demo?
No, but it is important, right? So if you want, when you're implementing a mechanism like distributed tracing, then you also need to understand it, and you need to be able to debug it.
Yep.
And you need to be able to put your sidecar in debug mode for a certain package in order to see if your sidecar is indeed propagating the headers. And if you don't know that kind of stuff, then you're working with a black box, and then
So did you do more than the demo application to spread the knowledge to the teams?
Yeah, like I said, the documentation.
Documentation,
with extensive information about what happens. So what happens when that single customer request enters our landscape? The first HTO sidecar determines whether or not that trace will be sampled. If it will be sampled, then it generates that unique request. That unique request will be propagated to upstream, and all the hops in the chain need to do that. And we created a clear documentation for that, which explains this. I hope people read it.
Yeah.
Would that documentation also be available for people outside of Bol?
I don't know what our policy is, but I'm sure that a lot of other. If you go to OpenTelemetry, then you
can find
the
same.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, tip number 4.
I'm really curious now how long the list is.
So
I love it.
So we already discussed the multiple disciplines that are needed to get this working.
Mm-hmm.
Start small. Make the changes in your framework teams. Demo, document everything, and use OpenTelemetry. Yeah, these are the tips. So I think we went through them.
Yeah, that's really cool. Because indeed, how much? Maybe it's not. I'm just curious. Like, did it took long within Bol to be getting to this point where you're at right now?
Yeah.
So where did you start it? Because I think I heard it as well in one of my teams. Someone mentioned, I think 1.5 years ago, ish. Like, oh, this would be so nice if we were to have this in Bol.
Yeah.
Like, what happened from that point on?
Yeah. So at some point but maybe you can explain it a bit, Anthony, because this is kind of your thing. We created the concept of horizontal tech initiatives.
Yeah.
And a horizontal tech initiative, like the name already says, is about creating tech that you typically want to do organization-wide.
Mm-hmm.
So not reinventing the wheel on each domain or, for God's sake, on each product group. No, you want to do it horizontally. All the same, period. And this is typically such an example, right? Because you have to deal with, like I said before, the infra pieces that need configuration changes. The header set you pick, the backend you use to store the traces. So, and we didn't really have a mechanism to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the horizontal tech initiative got started.
Yeah.
And with the aim of doing this. But at first, I think where we did it wrong was that the platform teams were not involved from the beginning.
That's interesting for this.
Yeah. And you need them.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why it took so long.
Yeah.
So that's also a very good tip, right?
Yeah. But also now that we finally got there, but what I see now happening is that it's a bit unclear who the owner is of tracing. And that's a bit sad, to be honest. because this is only step one, tracing synchronous HTTP calls. What about PubSub traffic? Imagine a world where a partner of us delivers a piece of context, a new price for this laptop.
Mm-hmm.
It all happens asynchronously. They provide us a file, and then in our landscape, we process that change, that event, through a lot of queues.
Yep.
We are not able to trace that traffic. But how cool would it be if we can say to that partner, from the moment of delivery of your price up to the moment that your price is on production, updated, it took like 7 minutes or so. That's very, very cool. And that's doable with tracing. But now somebody needs to initiate that.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I don't see that happening nowadays.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad.
Yeah, that's a nice call to action. Maybe someone who listens in thinks, hey, this is the thing we need for PubSub especially. But indeed, it again shows the power of why not standardize everything in one way and really make it happen.
Expand indeed. So.
Yeah. And even before the podcast recording, I found it. Let me see if I can get it back. Somebody asked a question in our distributed tracing channel. Yeah, Dave Franke. Is there a way to filter traces on a subtrace which takes too long? That's very powerful, because basically what he's asking is, what are our bottlenecks?
Yeah.
That's his question.
Indeed.
And tracing can help with the answer.
Yeah.
But somebody needs to do it now.
Sounds like all or nothing. Or well, you already have benefits, but it can bring so much more value.
Yeah. Especially if you merge, if you use Cloud Logs and Google's feature of metrics as well.
Yeah. So is that also the what's next?
I hope so.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And I think especially indeed what you already mentioned, all the benefits, it should just be a no-brainer to continue this. So sounds good to to see what HCI can bring in here. Yeah, cool.
Maybe it's good to summarize it, because this has been a really interesting conversation. I think we've learned a lot, also the benefits of tracing. Can you maybe summarize it in a kind of call to action to people who are listening?
What tracing is, or
what they need to do to get all the benefits?
It depends. So if you're in a team all the way in the back, so if you're a content providing team and you deliver content to the customer using a few services in between, then upgrade to Axel 12 or to the latest Torque. Torque is our Go framework.
Yeah.
And then your service will support, your service will send traces as a response to the incoming set of tracing headers.
Yeah.
No, that's it. Then at some point, you make somebody in the front end teams happy because they want traces. They want to see where their bottleneck is. And if it turns out that your team in the back end are the bottleneck, then it became clear to the front end people.
Yeah.
But if you're a front end team like you are, then you can say, okay, let me experiment. Let's start tracing 1% of the incoming traffic. See how it goes, like Simple Shop did.
Yep. Yeah, indeed.
And I think that by default they are now using it.
For sure, especially for development as well. Because what I said, it's so nice that we can just now see, hey, because we're also redefining the API behind it. There's something that's really slow, but we have no idea what it is. And now we can just really see, these calls are doing, for 24 products, for example, they're being done in parallel. How can we make this even more quick? Sorry, not in parallel, synchronously. How can we do it even more quick? Yeah. So that's, it's a really cool benefit and a nice strategy to start off.
Yeah, but this is a very good example because a tracing visualization indeed can show that maybe you now do these calls indeed in parallel, not in parallel, while you could do them in parallel.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
So that's very low-hanging fruit for you.
Yeah. It has so much benefit. So it's just really cool to see sometimes it's just the awareness of, oh, there's actually something like this. Because a lot of people, indeed, what you mentioned, they might have heard of the topic, but even the word distributed tracing might sound already like, I have no complete idea what this means. So even knowing that this is actually possible at scale is really nice. So learned a lot from you. Thanks.
Yeah, and another thing, ask for more, I would say. Go to the platform teams and ask for asynchronous support as well.
Yeah. Good tip. And if they are listening,
yeah, and maybe resource timing. It's hard, but at least inform them that you need it. That this can be a next cool step.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot, Rogier.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, man.
Learned a lot today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, it keeps being a really interesting topic. So thanks for explaining it how you mentioned in Jip en Janneke taal.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, maybe more people will start now, or at least look into it after hearing this story.
Yeah, and then if people are in the audience or listening in have any questions, what is the best way to go?
We have a distributed tracing Slack channel, and there's docs.bol.io, of course.
And just external people, other companies.
External people, they know how to reach us.
Indeed, the TechLab email.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rogier, once again.
All right.